Professional as ever.
Hey guys, my name's Kirby Downey, and that is
Johnny.
There we go. Welcome to the next episode of the Core Podcast. This is episode 3, I think. I've written it down somewhere. It's boom, there.
Boom.
Done. This episode we're going to have FotisMint. He's a Greek digital sculptor. He makes some really pretty cool stuff. Doing a lot of characters and busts, and it's very, very high detailed 3D models that are very well 3D printable. I say without further ado, we just bring him in and let's just see the kind of things he does.
And throw him in here.
What he does. Hey man, how you doing?
Hello guys. Thank you for inviting me on your podcast.
Yes,
more than welcome.
Your stuff is incredible, and you know we don't want to make ourselves just about SolidWorks, so we thought we'll do something a bit different for us next episode. And you know, a lot of the people that have come to watch our stuff, you know, from our background are strictly SolidWorks people. So we thought, you know, why not show them some other technologies and other things that people are doing with 3D sculpting and that, and just see if we can inspire some people to do some really crazy things.
Honestly, I'm very impressed with the things you do in SolidWorks anyway. So yeah, you don't think of sculpting that highly because the things you do are amazing, especially the Star Wars things you did. Man, I still remember those, and I'm like, damn.
Yeah, it's but like that's how we look at the stuff that you do with the digital sculpting. Like the only kind of things that I've ever done with digital sculpting is literally adding textures onto details. Johnny's never used it
At all.
and it is a scary stuff. It's a completely different way of thinking.
Well, yeah, it is scary. When you started for the first time, it's very scary. I mean, you're like confused Travolta in there. You just go in there and like, what's going on in here? Why am I here? What I'm going to do now? And yeah, exactly. I mean, especially if you start with zebras, it has one of the most difficult interfaces out there. In order to,
it's all about using keyboard shortcuts and just like trying to zoom. It took me an hour to figure that one out.
Yeah, but that's
the Kraken at some point, and then move your mouse, and then it'll do it. Like,
well, that's the thing though. When you learn these controls, everything makes sense. That's the magic. That's the magic of it. I mean, the first time I started, I mean, when I started anyway, I started with CAD software. First one was a student license of SolidWorks. I was trying for 2 weeks to do something, and I ended up with the cube every time. And yeah,
I was like, let me put a fillet on that.
Yeah,
Radius
everywhere.
Screenshot.
We're going advanced and throw a 45-degree chamfer.
And after that, I went to Fusion, and Fusion was a lot simpler in many things. And then I started doing some props. I made some swords for a competition in my mini factory. Well, I was
non-standard stuff, I think.
Yeah. That was the first models I ever did, and that was I was very proud of these models. I mean, I was like, wow, what I did. But the fun thing is, when I for some reason I went back to SolidWorks to just look at something after a couple of months, and everything made sense.
Yeah,
that was something very weird for me.
I mean, the process of modeling something is always pretty much the same. I always find, you know, if I need to create something quite detailed in SolidWorks, it's something similar to sculpting, where you make your basic shape and then you add the details. You use your fillets, you're adding grooves, you're detailing, and that's kind of like sculpting the shape. So it is quite similar in terms of workflow, but it's the controls and interface that's the scary
part.
And then after all this, you know, after 3, 4, 5 months, I think, making everything in CAD software, I was like, yeah, but I want to make something more. I need to have freedom, because the thing it bothered me the most was I wanted to make some really weird things, and the software didn't let me.
Yeah.
And I was like, why don't you let me? I was very angry. I was very angry with that thing. And back then, when Kirby, you're in the studios of my factory, I was in them too, and I asked Morgan, Printed Obsession. I asked him, dude, how you do the things you make? And he told me, well, I use ZBrush, but don't start with ZBrush because you will fail. And just try Sculptris or something else to see, to get in the philosophy of the things and stuff.
Yeah.
And we will talk again. And, when I installed Sculptris and, I had a Surface Pro and I started doing something with a pen, I was like, oh my God, it does everything I tell him to do. Yeah. It does everything like I want it. Well, I made a blob, but doesn't matter. Then I said, well, if I'm going to do that, I will start with ZBrush. And I installed ZBrush. It took me, I can find it. My first sculpt was a skull that looked like you put it in the oven. It was, it was very bad, but it was something that you can do with any CAD software. You can do that. You can, but a lot more difficult to do that there.
More labor intensive.
Let me find it for just a second because it's very funny.
Well, let's take note of the people who have joined us today. They say it's an all-cast cast today, but it says an all-star chat that we have.
Yeah, there it is.
We've got virtual Flat Cat, and he was here, our guest last week. So if you want to see that episode before and see the cool animation,
make sure you check it out.
We got Daxish, I think that's how you say it. He moaned at me because I didn't acknowledge him last week. So
what, Daxish?
Yes, he's in there. We've got practical printing. He's having a good time. He's got some good content as well. Ex Machinia Zen. He said at some point we'll talk about the scale placement for your Chinese dragon. That sounds like a fun story.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then we've got the core podcast in the chat as well. They joined.
I tuned in. Don't worry, guys. Gotta get the viewers up.
Yeah, it's
about the dragon. He says. I don't know if you saw the dragon, but I have it here as well. Well, I have an image. I will show you the 3D thing in a bit.
Yeah.
Well, this one here, because when you do patterns and stuff, it looks very even. It looks really fake.
Let me see if I can. No, I can't.
Yeah,
it looks. Highlight yours. I'll have to figure out how to do that one now.
Because it looks very fake to just draw a pattern or use an alpha on the mesh. It looks like painted. So yes. on this one, I made all the scales by hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you
scares me. I'm so lazy.
If you notice them, they're not even. There are lots of variety on the way I made them, and the reason I did that was because I didn't want. I tried it with the techniques that you can just use a pattern on it and you can see the scales, but it looked really fake. I didn't like it. So I made a brush. I just made a brush. I made one scale by myself, and then I made it a brush, and then I was dragging it everywhere I wanted it.
Yeah.
And these are stuff that it takes you a lot of time to do. Just imagine you have to make all the dragon, but the final result is very satisfying. This model was very satisfying to watch.
Yeah, it's adding detail like that. It's just it takes a lot of time. I recently did a model where I had to put I think about 300 individual fillets onto something, and I looked at it, I was like, no, and I eventually sat there and did it all one by one. And the problem with SolidWorks is that if you try and do multiple fillets, it just starts crashing your computer. So you got to do little chunks at a time. But once
you get a nice little box. A box of death pops up and tells you that you're being an idiot and you're not allowed.
Well, that's the other thing. You need a very powerful PC to do any kind of 3D modeling. I just changed mine 2 months ago. I got the 3950 AMD because, you know, my previous one was an FX 9370 and I could boil a steak on it. I mean, yeah.
I mean, I just use my laptop here. I don't have a PC. I eventually want to get a PC and build it. I'm just going to figure out how to get someone to pay for it.
Love it. Another shout out to the chat. Any sponsorship opportunities dropping right
guys,
now?
Please bring it. Like, even
Anyone's
if
got
it's
a contact, Jack Daniels, we're your men.
I'll be happy to like support different underwear brands as well. Like, just whatever, money's money. Like, hashtag sell out.
I think Kirby, the idea.
I wish AMD is watching, so you know you get sponsored tonight.
Yeah, one day.
And you get a third Reaper tomorrow.
Either that, or we'll get a cease and desist.
Probably, yeah.
But I think either way, we can work something out.
Yeah, we can work through the court case. It'll be fine.
We will find someone.
At least we'll make that contact.
Yeah.
Zed was saying that I've completely forgot I could do this.
You can show comments, yeah.
Boom, I can highlight comments. No, that wasn't the comment. No, it was
practically. This one.
If you could translate your favorite Metallica song into a sculpt, and you can't use Master of Puppets because that's just crosses.
Harvester of Sorrow.
That would be quite interesting. Because I don't know if you know or heard of Ricardo Silamao. He did some digital sculpting back in the day when I was working at my factory. Let me share my screen. And he actually did a metal-themed chess set. So let me throw that in there. No, there we go. So he actually did a metal-themed chess set. So that reminded me of that. He did basically did hip hop versus metal. So that's a cool one that he did. He was very good at his sculpting. Like, for him, when he did his sculpting, it was never as detailed and look as good as yours. But what Ricardo did was very quick.
I see great work over there, man.
Yeah, a lot of his stuff was, this would be stuff done in like an hour or two.
Doodles.
He was really, really quick, but the detail that you put into yours, like the little pendant of
it's a choice.
Yeah, that little pendant of Gerald, like it looks good, and what's even more amazing is that it prints well. And that's I think the problem that a lot of people that do digital sculpting for 3D printing don't realize, that they'll do details, but it's so subtle that the print actually won't come out.
You have no idea.
Yep.
You have no idea how much struggle I had to achieve that exact thing you're saying. I mean, if you look at my early works, you will see that my details are not that deep. You will see, for example, I had a Captain America. You will see the lines and the stitches on his uniform.
Yeah,
was not that obvious. It was not that obvious on when you print it. So that's a common mistake for people that start with sculpting, because they look at it, it looks fine, but right at that moment you don't think that this will not look good on the print.
Yeah,
it will just
you gotta
be
think about.
Yeah, it will look really fade. It will not look good. So if you see my boy here, this is also a separate part here. That's also started from a ring. Aside from a ring, I made a curved brush. I made this first line. I then made two lines, and then I duplicated all over to the back.
It's madness.
Same here. Same here.
My head just froze.
Also, I made the medallion just for the bust.
Did you download that medallion, or you just make your own?
No. Of course, I made my own. This is cheating, dude. We don't do cheating. I also gave it a separate model, by the way. This one.
There's a cool one by Lloyd Roberts on My New Factory. Can kind of get an idea of the shape and that. Like what I always find is it's kind of like a similar mentality I take when it comes to 3D printing is if I can buy it, just buy it. I know there's a Facebook group called, F it, I'll print it, where people just print things that you can buy. And it's quite funny. It's quite interesting to see what people are just wasting their time doing, but they're having a good time doing it anyway. But seeing like that, I always sometimes find it's easier just to grab a bit of detail from someone else's model. Look at their licensing and see if you're allowed to do it. And put it on there and then like share it to them. I used your really cool model in mine, and just kind of it's a collaborative kind of thing, and it's always something fun to be able to do that kind of thing. But also at the same time, like if you model yourself, you're pushing the limits of what you can do as well. If it's something that you have no clue how you can do.
Honestly, I never do that. I mean, I would never use something that's already made from another man on my model. I mean, no way. No. I imagine that I even want to print things sometimes from others, but now I don't have the time to do it. But all the models you see back there are mine. I don't even print other models. I just do my work. And
I'm the same. I print my own things. Like I was sent some filament to review, and this is like the only time I ever print other people's models because I made one model for myself, but the point of it is for me to review the material. It's not me to make a model. So it's easier just to print other people's things. But I mean, I get what you mean. I always find, and this philosophy that I always take when it comes to designing something is I try and push the limits of the things that I'm going to make. So in that case, I'll decide I'm going to add this bit of detail into it. I have no clue how I'm going to make it. I'll figure it out when I get to it, and it just kind of.
I find that's the best way. You throw yourself off the deep end. You just got to figure it out and get it done.
Yeah.
You learn a whole new skill set from doing that, and find tools that you didn't know existed.
Yeah, I mean,
that's exactly what happened to me with the first good sculpt I ever did. I mean, Lucio from Overwatch was the first good one I ever did. I mean, it took me 20 days, I think. But 20 days. I was working a day job back then, and when I was returning from work, from 10 a.m. until 6 a.m., 7 a.m., I was sculpting, and then at 8 a.m. I was going to work again for 20 days. Yeah. I didn't stop for eating, for anything. Yeah. And actually, there's a very tragic story with this also. When I finished it, I said, it's done. I said, let's do a backup.
I mean,
I deleted the wrong folder. I didn't delete the old folder. I deleted the new folder, and it was like at 4 a.m. I almost fainted. It was summer. It was 40 degrees. I almost cried, actually, and that's the first time I learned that there's a quick save feature in ZBrush, and it was saved in the quick save tab. But I was such a noob. I had no idea I could just go to quick saves and find it again. Yeah. But the shock of that thing was you have no idea, man. I almost died.
I mean, that's similar to, and you see it a lot, especially in the SolidWorks community, where people don't set up the autosave feature, and they'll spend 4 or 5 hours running something, and then it crashes, and then you're just like, I'm going to bed. This is a problem.
You don't stop
regularly.
I mean,
you don't stop.
Because Jonny and I go to like a lot of these SolidWorks conventions, and we speak to the people that are actually making the software. And we say to them, it's like, why isn't that just something that exists? It's just first thing you turn it on, it's like, do you want autosave? Yes. Like, it mustn't be an option. It should just be a feature.
Why is that not just the default option? Like, why do I have to tell you that please don't lose my work regularly?
Well, honestly, now it should be on from default, and if you don't want it, you have to go take it off. I mean,
but who's not going to want it?
that's
Like realistically, I like to check that my heart's working properly every week when something like crashes and I lose 3 hours of work. I love that feeling. It makes me feel so alive.
I mean, but back to the idea of collaboration, and this was kind of the first collaboration I did with the Z brush sculptor is Frostmourne.
Is that you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Look how skinny I was.
50 kilos ago.
Yes, pretty much. Look at that.
This is an advert of why not to drink Jack Daniels regularly.
But this was done with an artist called Elliot Viles. He now actually works for. Basically, he did a lot of the models for Star Wars and Ready Player One. Like the goggles that the main character uses in Ready Player One, he designed it for the actual film, for the prop.
Oh, so nice.
And he did a lot of the models for like Rogue One and that. But he taught me how to use ZBrush. This was back when he was working at my Mummy Factory, and then he ended up working at Pinewood Studios. And I'm still asking him for a job.
If you want, tell him you know me. I got a friend. Tell him.
But what was interesting here is that this was the first time that we were trying to get My Mini Factory to create a collaboration feature where multiple artists can create the same thing. So this is on my page, but the only way I can link to him is with the link over there. So that was the whole idea of this. But he did all this digital sculpting, and I did all the sword stuff all the hard surface stuff in SolidWorks, because we wanted a model that could kind of clip together with these rigid, precisely engineered joints.
Dovetails.
Yeah, the idea was to create a fully 3D printed sword that can be made without any glue or dowels. That was the experiment. So basically, I made these hard model things. He made the sculpts, and then I put that together using Mesh Mixer and just lined everything up. And then, like where the skull over here was overlapping, I just sculpted away. And we ended up making the sword that protects my virginity.
It grows back.
That's a fun time that's a good example of using, collaborating two different softwares, using each one's, strong features. Where try and make that ram skull in. I
remember this one.
You know what, Rob? I can see you there in the chat. I dare you to make something like that. I dare you. He makes some really cool surface things. So we'll see if you'll be able to do something like that. But that's very difficult to do in SolidWorks. And doing precision engineering things in ZBrush is very difficult to get tolerances right and the measurements correct.
I learned how to do that now. When you give me the precise object, I can edit it, and we will not lose anything.
Yeah,
but
multiple softwares, and I did that also with these. Another sweet flex. I just made the base. This is the most detailed sculpt I've ever done. But this, I started off by making the basic shape in SolidWorks, and then brought it into ZBrush, and I did the skulls and that. I basically just did blocks, and then I sculpted it in ZBrush. So, it'll take me a while to be able to create this shape in ZBrush, but if I make that shape in 5 minutes in SolidWorks, and then bring it to ZBrush and just spend a couple of hours detailing it, it makes it easy.
Honestly, I know a lot of people that are doing that. Since Z Modeler is not that easy, it's the hard surfacing tool of ZBrush is even more difficult than sculpting. Until you learn it. I even sometimes, not anymore, because I don't do precise things anymore. I don't care. But before that, I was doing things in Fusion, and then I was,
bring them across.
Importing,
Trying to take it the other way in SolidWorks, and then SolidWorks it has a day. It's like, no, I'm going to take your jaw for a walk. I'm not having this. SolidWorks hates STLs. It's because of the way that it thinks. Most STL editors, 3D model softwares that does high poly count models. They'll do point clouds and just kind of match them all up together and make a rendering of it. Where SolidWorks will try and figure out a lot more. It will try and know, that round shape over there. That's actually a feature, and I want it to be in a specific way. It doesn't use the point cloud. It tries to kind of overthink it.
It tries to take it back to how it was made.
Yeah, and it's just kind of, if it's above like 1,000 triangles, it's just like, nah, I'm not even going to try.
I'm tapping out.
but apparently, like Rob was telling us that in 2020 you can actually decimate models. But it's what I did like with those Blades of Chaos is that I made the basic model in SolidWorks. I then took it into ZBrush to sculpt it, and then I took it into Rhino to cut it up and add holes for the dials in it. So I ended up using multiple processes just to actually get exactly what I needed.
Honestly, there's no wrong procedure in my mind. I mean, if it works for you, just do it that way.
There's a million ways to skin a cat. As long as it gets in the end, there's no wrong method in the way that you do it. As long as you're right.
Yeah, as long as you get your outcome.
Yeah.
If it works, it's fine. Even if you use 10 softwares, who cares?
Yeah. So what I'm going to ask the chat to do here is head over to FotisMint's, pop that up, head over to his Instagram, check out what he has there, find something that you really like, a sculpt that you think is really cool, and if you have any questions, just throw them in the chat and we'll get chats about it. We've had a few people talking about a few of your sculpts already.
Yeah.
So let's just see what other people, if they have any questions about the things that you're making. For me, I'd like to know, what is your favorite kind of model to sculpt? Is it like creatures or people? Or,
if I had, to tell what I'm doing, I would say I'm a character artist. I mean, I like to make characters. I like to make everything, related to video games, related to movies. I make both figures and busts. Yeah. But what I really want to do at some point is do miniatures. I have some, but I really want to go deeper in that because it's very fascinating. It's original. That's the most important. At some point we have to go, somewhere else than fan art.
Shall I throw one of my favorites up?
Go for it.
Because I'm obviously a big nerd. Boom. You gotta love it. You have to love that.
That's pretty cool. I've actually got a Pirates of the Caribbean coin now on my Barracuda Bay Lego set.
I saw your little post this morning or yesterday.
Yeah.
I did enjoy it.
Yeah, I didn't even put it there. My wife put it there. I was just like, wait a minute, I didn't do that. But she just lets it across there. I'm like, I must make a scene. And then she walks into me busy playing with my Lego.
Post this.
David was...
David
was really cool to me.
Caribbean. It's one of my favorite movies. And I think that
I love it.
That the CGI of him in the film is just
unreal,
beautiful, and so well done, and so well acted.
I particularly love
the actor is amazing anyway.
If you ever go like Disney World or Disneyland, there's a ride and there's like a scene where they project onto a waterfall him, and I always just have his voice and like the tentacle beard and everything stuck in my head, and the detail that you managed to get into the tentacles and everything is just unreal. So like how long did you spend on something like that?
This one I think took me around 3 or 4 days. Around that.
What we talking, like 9 a.m. till 9 at night, or a few hours on an evening?
No. Honestly, this one all busts. You don't have to work that much. You will probably work around. It depends how much deep you go on the model. Sometimes you're not feeling well, you have to take breaks. But 3 days it was around 9 hours a day, maybe. But this one was easy to make. How am I saying that though? The main mess was not that hard to make. I mean, you had to make the tentacles, you have to make the movement, the shape of them right, and then the most time took to detail, not to actually make the shape of Davy Jones, because it's not a difficult shape. The face is not hard to make. The face is very easy to make, actually. Yeah. It actually took more time to make the hat than to make the face. I mean, that's honestly.
I always think that the hardest thing to do when you're sculpting a character is, especially if it's a character that people know, is recreating the likeness.
That's it. Yep.
I've seen so many digital artists trying to recreate characters, and they just, like when Baby Yoda first came out, and everybody was trying to make a Baby Yoda sculpt.
Yep.
Majority of them just didn't have that look.
They didn't have it. They weren't quite there, and you can tell as soon as something's not quite there, it stands right out.
Yeah, it was.
I made one.
You did make one. I found it earlier.
I might have printed it.
Did you?
It's high. It's higher.
Higher? How much higher? You do like that one?
After I don't know, 10 bottles of Jack.
Dude, you can still stand after 10 bottles of Jack. You can come out with us.
Yeah.
There's another one. Look at that.
Yeah, I have spoken.
I have spoken.
Yeah.
Well, he's spoken enough.
In a face, just kind of. You can make a face, but to make a face look like the characters, it is very, very difficult to do, and you do a very good job.
Big talent.
And it's not only to just catch the characteristics; you have to also catch the expression. I mean, that's the most difficult. That's the most difficult part, and that's why when you do likeness, you can't work with symmetry. You have to break symmetry very early in the sculpt.
Yeah,
I mean, if you look at in the same row, I have Bill the Butcher there.
Yeah,
Daniel Day-Lewis. I think I got this one.
That's just madness. I mean, even like the face of some of the characters from what's the game called now? Yeah, Die Hardman. That's it.
The Die Hardman.
Like just kind of his presence as well just looks really good. Even the other fella, Cliff, just kind of.
Cliff,
it's difficult to describe how good it is, and like it's just your stuff is really, really good. And
it's like the texture on the back of them as well, like.
Actually, this is a miniature, and if you go to my manufacturer, there's a guy painted them that small, and that's what you have to do with miniatures. I mean, you have to make them good to paint, even in that big. Yeah, that's the most difficult part, and that's what I'm trying to perfect right now, because I still have lots of things to learn for miniatures.
Yeah, I mean. How you're saying like doing that model of character from Pirates of the Caribbean? I'm terrible with names, just to be fair. David Jones. You said it took you like a couple of days, like full days. Is that quick for you, or is that a slow sculpt?
It's normal.
Because you can say that it took you a couple of days, 9 to 9, 12-hour days. For me that sounds like a very, very long time, but for you that could be an easy sculpt.
It's normal for a bust. It's normal. I give myself around 3 days, for a bust, and for a figure around 6 to 7 days. And if you go and see my Leoric from Diablo, that one took around 10 days. That was really
Yeah, I just saw your Crota sword. A friend of mine actually printed that out for me on his resin printer. Jonny, are you going to try print any of these on your resin printer, or are you still trying to get that thing to work?
Let's check.
When I find time to figure out how resin printing works properly, then yes. It's like you buy a resin printer and you're so used to like FDM printers, and
it's easier than FDM, dude.
Johnny cannot get it working.
It's easier than
I'm sort
FDM,
of halfway there.
but it's messy.
Is it?
It's messy.
Yeah,
that's the only problem.
My life's messy, so I won't worry about that.
It's not, well, if you have 4K and buy from Formlabs, it's not that messy, but yeah, I won't
if
spend.
If you've got
4K.
the money, Formlabs is definitely go for, but it's just so expensive.
Yeah, it's 4K.
The ecosystem is incredible. The way you use the actual bats and everything is so clean.
Yeah.
But,
everything just works.
I really want an Elagu Mars.
I have one.
They keep making reasons for me not to say no. Like they've just released the curing box. I was like, oh, that's going to cost a lot. I looked, it was 50 quid. I was like, hold on, wait a minute. Formlab sells these for thousands of pounds, and you can come at 50 quid.
Honestly, wait a bit and buy the Saturn. It's 400.
Yeah, that is unreal.
It has a monochrome LCD. It's four times faster, I think. It has a bigger build platform, and I think it's worth the money. I mean, it's very cheap.
It's definitely worth the money.
Like I feel like Elagu has completely changed the face of resin printing. Yeah, for in-home use. They've just come in and lowballed the price, and they've just, especially after Jesse, Uncle Jesse started promoting it. Everybody's just like, this is incredible, because you've now got a resin printer that can print, almost the quality of a Formlabs.
It's cheaper. It's cheaper than FDM
for a bit of pocket for a bit of pocket money. Yeah, and it's because the technology is actually so simple. It's so much more simple than FDM. It's just shine a light in this spot, and move the bed up a couple of times. It's really not complicated. I mean, I work with SLS 3D printers.
Oh, there's Leoric to the right.
If you
direct me
down
there, the figure under it, that one. This one took 10 days, maybe more.
Wow, that's
crazy. That was very. It had 165 parts.
165 parts.
Yes, that was one of the most complicated ones I did. I mean, look, if you look at all the pieces of armor on him, it's great. It's great.
Did you learn something from it? That's important.
Oh, a lot, a lot.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in university, I had all the time in the world to experiment and play around with SolidWorks, and if I was making something, I would push the limits to the things that I can make, and I would, just test myself. And the problem is nowadays, I'm working a full-time job. I'm coming home. I have to spend some time with my wife. I have to, have some food. I've got to drive in traffic. And by the time I'm home, if I need to do a freelance design job for someone, I want to spend an hour on it. I don't want to spend any more time on it, because that's my time to kind of wind down.
I think that's where I'm at with it. If I was,
that's my problem right
there. I wouldn't sleep.
That's my problem right now. Since I started doing this full time, I'm literally, for the last 14 months, I'm nonstop. I didn't even have a Sunday, honestly, because when you work, first of all, I work from my house. That's the biggest mistake of all. If you work from your house, you never stop working. Never.
No, there's no border. There's no border, so you don't switch off.
I mean,
you always want to be in there doing something.
When I was working at my factory, because I would come home and I'd carry on looking at my numbers and watching people talk about the new thing that were released. I was always on it. But now I'm at 3D Print UK. My job is working with the printers, and I can't do that job from home. As soon as I leave work, I switch off completely from work. And it's a great feeling of being able to just cut yourself off.
Yeah.
But it is easy to just kind of lose yourself in your work, and all of a sudden it's 11 o'clock at night, and you've spent 15, 16 hours in your office doing, sitting in front of a screen.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is a very dangerous game to play. You have to have a lot of kind of self-control, and like I think with the current situation, like all of a sudden people who have had those daily routines have been completely wiped away from it. Being forced to work from home, it's affecting a lot of people mentally, because all of a sudden the routine is messed up. Yeah, there's no way to escape to. I mean,
you're working from home.
My wife used to work from home for a previous job, and she loved it. Then she started working for this new company doing social media, and now all of a sudden she had to go in every day. At first she was kind of like, I don't want to do that. And then with COVID, she's now forced to work from home. And she has to do her morning routine to try and keep a sense of normality.
Yep.
And it's completely different if you work from home for yourself than working from home for another person. Because when you work for another, you will stop eventually.
Yeah,
but when you do it for yourself,
I don't get paid.
Imagine one time it was 3 a.m. and I was watching TV and I just had an epiphany. I was like, that's a cool model. And I stood up and I went to PC at 3 a.m. and sculpted until 6, and then I went to bed again. Yeah, that's not normal, dude.
I'm absolutely terrible with that kind of thing. It was also in university. I'd come up, because I was studying product design, like I would be like the ideas phase. I've got to come up with ideas for my project. And it'll be like 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm watching a show and I come up with an idea. I'll be like, okay, that'll be great. I'll deal with that in the morning. And I wake up in the morning. It's just like, I completely forgot.
It's not there.
Eventually I stuck pieces of paper on my wall in my room. And whenever I had an idea in the middle of the night, because it wasn't just kind of writing it down, I had to draw it. I'll just go up to my wall and just start drawing.
Sketch it out quickly,
That was a good kind of creative process. I guess you can't really do that with ZBrush. You can't just like start sculpting on the wall, pull out your lump of clay. Have you ever done that?
I don't. The thing is, I don't know how to sketch.
Yeah. Have you ever tried taking what you've learned in ZBrush and bringing that into the real world, but doing actual sculpting with clay?
You know what? One time I did that. I made a potato, and that's it.
There's nothing wrong with the potato.
It's complete. Yeah, it's good if you eat it, but not if you're trying to make.
It's the most versatile piece of food. There are so many things you can do with the potato. I tell you what, I've got 5 kilograms of potatoes in my cupboard, and I have no clue what to do with them. I ordered.
It's versatile. It's versatile, but Kirby doesn't know what to do with it. Great. You've sold it.
There's a lot of potato. We ordered our online delivery for food. And we ordered 1.5 kilograms of potatoes for £2. For £2.
Clearly.
No, they said, "Oh, sorry, we didn't have your potatoes that you asked for. Our reasonable replacement is 2.5 kilograms. Yeah. Your substitute is 2.5 kilograms of potatoes for the same price." And we're just like, I don't need this much potatoes. Like, I'm one for cottage pie, but there's only so much cottage pie you can eat.
You should make some wedges or something with them. Go exotic. Slice them. Some herbs and spices.
Make my own crisps.
Come on, that is an effort.
Coming back to clay sculpting, I'm sorry. I want to say that it's completely different. I mean, even if you're the best sculptor in the world, digital.
Sorry, I spilled.
Even if you're a fantastic digital sculptor, when they give you a piece of clay, honestly, you don't know what to do with it. You have no idea.
Yeah,
I'm not the best in the world. I'm nothing. But when I got the clay, I was like,
yeah, it's just kind of, it's the same, but it's not the same. It's kind of, I was in university when it came to actually making the prototypes. I was absolutely useless at that kind of thing. I don't have the patience to sit in a workshop and sculpt things. I don't have the patience to sand and paint anything. All the models that I've ever done, I'm just kind of like, I've taken off the printer and sprayed it, and like, yeah, it's good enough.
Have you ever watched the videos? And there's like car companies like Aston Martin or whoever, and they're literally hand carving half of a car out of clay, and I'm just like, what?
Yeah, man.
For some people, that's the fastest way to be able to just kind of idea generate, and it's insane.
But if someone said to you, "There's a ton of clay, make me a new model of car out of it," you'd just be like, "Where the hell do I start?"
Yeah, with the wheels.
I would go on a car outside, cover it with clay, and then
Cover it, change it a little bit.
And the stuff that they do is incredible, and like, I have the patience to do that kind of detailing in SolidWorks, but ask me to do that in real life, I just like no. That's why I love 3D printing. It does all the work for me.
Yeah, you just hit go and it prints it out.
I'm looking at the things they do in Veta Workshop, and I'm like,
yeah, that stuff. Like when they make the swords, watching Adam Savage making swords with them, it's just like
insane stuff. I can't grasp them. I don't know how they do them. I mean, the other guy, they make a statue that big of Balrog with clay, and then they paint it, and they use resin, and they put on the head, and it looks like fire. And I'm like, what are you doing? How are you doing that? I mean, this is true art, man.
Yeah,
this is true art.
Yeah, some of these artists, and I'm absolutely loving some of the shout out to Disney Plus, please sponsor us. Disney Plus has a lot of cool documentaries. One's called Prop Culture, where they go through a bunch of the old props from old movies, from like Tron, Mary Poppins, Nightmare Before Christmas, and how they actually made the props and the life that they work that went. You're crying almost every episode.
It's unreal, isn't it?
So hard. It's just.
And
there's the other one, like the
Imagineering stories on there. Yeah,
there's the Imagineering story where
all the animatronics for the park, and it's like, hang on a minute, you did that like 50 years back with no 3D printing, limited sort of CAD design and stuff. It's just like, what? Yeah,
just the whole Imagineering story. It's just Walt Disney's ideas of building a park and how creative his mind was, and he found people and gave them open opportunity to create
freedom to design,
freedom to do whatever they wanted, and they were just able to create
how about
insane things. And you try and think of doing that now, even with all the technology, it's mind blowing how they figured all that stuff out.
And the difference between that and Walt Disney is the reply you would probably get now is, how much is it going to cost me?
It's a lot. It's always just like, I'll pay you an exposure. There's some internet money.
You're watching movies like Star Wars, man. It was in the 70s. And like,
yeah, exactly.
How did they do that? I mean
with the new Mandalorian series, and what they did with a thing called the with that like round studio.
Yeah,
you watched that, Jonny?
Yeah.
And just you should watch Star Wars Gallery, and they talk about the technology that they used on their sets. Instead of using green screens,
don't you worry.
They used massive LED panels.
Yeah, it's on the Disney Plus watch list. It's only $5.99 a month.
Link in the description.
No one sponsors us.
They can go anywhere right now and just shoot a movie with that way. They can make with everything they want.
For artists like you, they can make detailed models of areas and put them there. Instead of getting actors to use their imagination, like, oh, look at this amazing place, they can actually see it in real time rendered as well. And
did you see the new Unreal Engine video
for the PS5?
No. They're new. You will be able, for the PS5, you will be able to import a 60 million polygon statue in the game, and nothing happens.
Well, that's what they did. They had a statue that had like 60 million polygons, duplicated 1,000 times in one scene, and it ran real time and rendered every single one.
Man, that's insane. I mean, my Witcher, it was 35 million. Imagine, 35 million.
And it's just, I kind of like the way the technology is going. It's just, the stuff that you're doing now is as you're going to be the equivalent of what the people that do at Weta Workshop was like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
The people that are leading the props industry and building sets.
Yeah.
And obviously physical things still need to be made, but if you're going to have stuff like those digital screens, they're going to need digital artists to be able to create very high detailed sculpts. So,
well, I will be 200 kilos by then, but
damn good at your sculpting.
I hope I can make it.
Yeah.
Well, this is just crazy talk because literally I'm nothing. I mean, I go to outstation and I feel like an insect.
You don't have to feel like that.
Yeah, I do.
It's all got very deep in here all of a sudden.
I mean,
I see guys sculpt, and you can't tell the difference if it's real or not.
Yeah, so there's some people that do insane things.
I mean,
how far you've gotten in
I think
3
me
years.
and Kirby would dream of being where you're at in 3 years' time if we started now.
Like the things that you're doing after 3 years and teaching yourself, and teaching yourself, and I've taken a lot of advantage of this kind of thing. Is I taught myself SolidWorks, and it just meant that the process that I take is completely different to the process that Jonny would take, because he was traditionally taught SolidWorks. He was told,
I learned it myself. I learned SolidWorks myself in a year because my CAD teacher was
Did you? Oh, they're useless.
less than adequate. Put it this way, Kirby. In college, my CAD teacher told me to teach the class.
I had to teach my head of department how to do rendering in SolidWorks because he had no clue how to do it.
Basically, my CAD teacher didn't know how to use SolidWorks. So
it's funny
I
because
learned how to use SolidWorks and taught everyone else.
What's he was using? Inventor?
She wasn't using anything. She was a fraud.
We had one of our product design teachers was learning CAD with the students at one point.
Really?
Yeah. Because they decided to bring someone in who had never done any form of product design or any form of design to teach design. And he was teaching like third year, and he was taking all the first year classes. Nice. And it was weird.
That's why I'll pay $9,000 a year.
Exactly.
Best tutorials I paid, by the way. It really jumpstarts my learning curve from there was Gromon Workshop. I mean, the guys, the Madeline, for example, the guys that do the tutorials in there are, well, that's a tricky thing because some tutorials work for some people and some don't. Those tutorials were very detailed, very good explained, and they showed me lots of tricks on how to do things right. Well, they don't tell you how to sculpt. I mean, you just learn how to sculpt. Nobody can tell you that you have to make the cheeks that way. They have to tell you the best way, for example, to make eyes. Yeah. But down the road, you find your own way eventually. I do it completely different right now. I'm not using the same techniques I used because with lots of practice and lots of testing, you find your own way to do it. But the first person that will tell you how to start is very important because if you do very bad anatomy or very bad heads, for example, everybody starts sculpting, including me, just making the front. You just pick the front of the face. Yeah. You just sculpt. You take your 5 hours there, 2 days there, and suddenly when you go to the side, it's a flat thing. like you hit your head on the wall. And just because you don't care about the right bone structure or anything. And that's the common mistakes everybody do when they start. And I struggled so much time for this thing. I mean, for a head to look properly.
So if someone were to start with sculpting like Jonny, let's say, Jonny, I'm going to give you a little project here. Sculpt or something.
Thanks, mate. I need more work in my life.
Where would
I've already got about 4 lists.
Where would someone kind of start? I mean,
where would you begin?
Yeah, you said you got advice about starting a sculptress, but what advice would you give to someone that wants to get into digital sculpting or wants to just play around with it?
By the way, Pixelogic just launched Zebra's Lite version. That's free.
Is it like what Sculptress was?
I think I'm not sure if they stopped Sculptors now. They stopped updating it for a while, but probably this one will replace Sculptors. But from what I've seen, it's very good for free software. But if you want to start, you have to, if you want to start with ZBrush, because you can also do sculpting in Blender, and there I can help you.
Blender's just a whole beast. It is so scary.
Oh man, I said to myself, I will start Blender for the last 2 years. I say that every week. I will start Blender this week. No. Every week. Every week I say that.
So scary.
I want it for hard surface.
Mesh Mixer, you can do a bit of sculpting in it as well.
Yeah, I know, but nah. If you want to start anyway, if you want to start with ZBrush, I think if you want to really go deep on this thing, you have to start good. I mean, you have to start properly. You have to take the Pixelogic. It has an academy in the website. You have to go from beginner to intermediate to advanced and try to learn all the. You need to learn the tools first and the brushes. You need to know what you're doing, because if you don't know the tools you're using, you just make your life worse. Everybody just start. Everybody do the same mistake. They start from K, not from A. I mean, they just go inside and take IMM brushes and they just make horns and. Yeah, they just do whatever they
just bring things out.
Yeah, they do whatever they're just fooling around. Yeah, I did that the first time I heard it as well. Yeah. But if you want to start properly, you have to start from A. I mean, you have to learn the interface, to know what you're looking at. For example, most of the people the first week they don't even know what they're clicking on. They don't know why they have to click edit.
Yeah.
If you don't click edit, you can't sculpt, and you're just rotating everything for a week.
You're just drawing little squares just all over the place.
Yes.
That'll save me a week now. You've told me that, so that's great.
You see, you will pay me. You will pay me later. Don't worry.
If we get sponsored, Jack Daniels will pay you later.
You will pay me with a case of Jack. No, I don't need money. I just want a case of Jack. So that's the thing. You need to go from. You need to start properly, and you need to like it, of course, and you need lots of practice. You need to practice. What I mean by practice is you just do things that you like. Don't try to make a superhero on your first day. No, just try to make a face. Just try to make a face. Just try to make an object, for example.
I mean, if you want to do something, when you're trying to learn SolidWorks, people always just say, "Oh, I went in, I just made a cube," and that's because you just aimlessly clicked away at things. If you're going to learn a software, do it using a project. Use it with having a goal in mind.
Yep.
Have something that you want to make. You can get it.
Along the wire.
That's the first thing. That's the thing I tried to make in Fusion.
Yeah.
I opened it up, and I was trying to make the snap fit, for example.
Yeah.
And it took me, I don't know how long, but I never made it. I never made it work, the snap fit. But I tried.
You learn something from it. But it's just have a goal in mind. Just model something that you either want or need. Something that you think is cool. Just use that as your tool. Use that as your kind of inspiration to create. Maybe Johnny, I'd love to see you sculpt a Admiral Akbar.
All right, dude. Let's start with a sphere, shall we?
That's where we should start.
Yeah,
should start with a sphere.
I've just learned about the edit button, and you're like literally baiting me into a trap. It's a trap, literally.
It's a trap. Well, maybe I should make an Akbar.
Yes. Basically, Jonny has an Admiral Akbar cosplay that he does.
Oh yeah,
Really?
full head.
The Stormtrooper Admiral Akbar that he does for the garrison. So he does a lot of charity stuff with the garrison.
I would make a joke. But I don't know you that well yet.
No.
That's a bit worrying. Just do it, yeah. No one cares in here. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's fine. So you really think you how many kilos you are?
Killers.
Which one of us?
We're getting personal.
Johnny.
We're the guys that get told to run, and we're the most unfit people.
Dude, I still have nightmares about that day.
Yeah, I'm at about 100. So we can call ourselves the 100 plus club.
100 plus.
Oh, I'm at the 100 plus club as well. So yeah, I think you're ready to start Zebras.
Nice.
I think you're ready.
That it's fine level. Either I can start like PC gaming, or I can start ZBrush. One of the two.
I would do
I would
ZBrush,
choose
but I've
PC
seen your
gaming.
gaming.
I would choose gaming.
I barely get time
Anyway,
to play.
summing it up, I mean, you just start with the basic tools, just learn what you're doing, and then down the road, you will have lots of questions that you can just click on YouTube and solve them.
Yep.
I mean, you try to do something for days and you just look online, somebody else already done that. Look how he does that, and then do it your way or his way. Who cares? You just need to be informed, get informed all the time.
Yes.
That's the
keep up to date with what's new. Do you? I mean, that's what's crazy about ZBrush as well, is that in SolidWorks all your tools are there. You can't really create your own tools. You can create shortcuts to tools, but you're given what you got. You can create you can get toolboxes and that stuff, like screws and that stuff, things that you can add, and you can edit that, but you're given what you got. Whereas ZBrush, you can create custom brushes and custom alphas, and like it's just so open to what you can do in it. So if you're doing landscapes primarily, your brush, that artist's brushes are going to be completely different to yours because you do primarily characters. So
Exactly.
it's kind of, you've also got to kind of choose what direction do you want to go. Do you want to make characters? Do you want to make environments? Do you want to make spaceships?
Honestly, I want to make everything, but there's simply not enough time during the day. Honestly, I have a side project right now with my friend Clockspring. Sven.
Yeah.
We will make something like terrain.
Yeah.
And he's doing the crazy parts you guys do, and I will do the more artistic side of the project.
Yeah.
And I really can't wait for that one, because it's buildings and I don't know surfaces and stuff.
It's collaborating
and I never did this thing before. The only building I made was how's it called? The Tower of Joy from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I ever made in that style. But everything is interesting. Honestly, you can't say I only make faces, for example.
Yeah.
There are lots of interesting things to do. When I see your AT&T, I'm like, how did you do that?
I don't even know.
Many
How?
That was so difficult to do because it's such a unique shape. But I managed just to figure it out, and like there's just so many botched jobs to make those shapes correct. But there's a million ways to skin a cat as long as the result is good at the end.
So
no one's going to
do
criticize how you made it. They're just going to criticize how shit it is at the end.
And you also made it with with the doors opening to the side. I mean,
a section cutaway because you can make a cool 8080, but let's get into it.
Let's see
what's
it
on the inside, and let's see what it's made of. The only thing I kind of stopped on a lot of the internal detail because it was taking me a long time to create it, and I just wasn't creative enough to figure out what should be there. And it's a lot of detail that I know that won't appear, like the panels on the actual.
You need the Star Wars vehicles book.
Yes, that's where I got the inspiration for the whole thing. There's a page from that I found on the internet.
Yeah.
But yeah, doing those little details. But now with, I know like a Prusa could do insane detail now, and I've got access to SLS printers, and with the access to resin printers nowadays, I can actually go back and add those details, and I can make it a lot more complicated.
SLS. Oh man, I would sell my right arm for an SLS printer.
You don't want to.
You probably have to.
I don't know. I love it.
Cool, but it is. You thought resin printing is messy. SLS is insane.
Everywhere.
It's just that their powder gets everywhere, and it's so gentle. It's so like, one time you get like a little hair on the build, it will cause a fail, and when it causes a fail, it's thousands of pounds worth of powder just wasted.
It's hard work, but I love the outcome from an SLS. I love it.
Yeah, it's a fun technology to work with, but at the same time, it's
Speaking-
a whole other beast.
Speaking of Star Wars, this is the most ball-breaking helmet in the history of helmets to make, especially if you're sculpting it. I mean, honestly, it took me so long to just make a helmet. Not the helmet, the face here.
The faceplate, yeah.
This corner here. And
It's such a tricky piece of geometry. Like I want to make that in SolidWorks, but I'm trying to figure out how do you create a shape like that.
The guy that was designing this costume was drunk or something. I don't understand it.
That's the thing, is that when they did those things, it was done by hand. There was no software.
Yeah, that was it. You didn't
that.
have to think what modeling tool is actually going to be able to make that. I'll just carve it out of clay.
Yeah.
Use that as my master. I only need to get a couple of pulls off of it or a couple of casts and then just chuck it away. First Star Wars, I never thought there was going to be a second one. I thought it was going to be a massive flop.
Yeah, most of the props have disappeared from that.
Well, it was all built out of junk, wasn't it? The whole lot was just built out of scrap.
Yeah, I mean, one of the most amazing details is from Adam Savage when he was working at ILM, is that he used a popular part from a tank. And it's his favorite greebly. And he would put this greebly all over the place. And then he put it on a spaceship that he designed that was then made into a full-size set. And this tiny little greebly that he's got thousands of was just made as this huge piece. Yeah. And like he just found it so entertaining that was just a piece of junk that he glued onto, haphazardly onto a thing. And now that's being made massive, and that's like part of the detail. It's just it's crazy how those things were made. They threw a bunch, like it's like throwing glitter at something. Whatever sticks.
The most time-consuming bust. This took 6-7 days, but it's all sculpted. There's not a single part made in another software.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Oh yes, now that I look at it, it's crazy. It is. Honestly, when I said I will make this one, it's like one of the talents. You challenge yourself. When you announce something, you have to do it.
Yeah.
So I said, yes. I announced
it. People, and then here we are.
Yeah. So I announced this thing, and I was like, when I started it, I started doing the helmet, and I was like,
wow,
what have I done?
Yeah.
Mistakes were made.
How am I going to do that? And then I went to torso, and if you look, all these things had to be, look like metal and stuff. Yeah. And I do it with zebras, and I'm like, dude, are you insane? Why did you promise this thing? This was one of the most difficult things I ever did, because it's something that I'm not used to. This is This can be made with hard surfacing, the whole thing.
I mean,
and
our
I was like,
friend Brad Thompson from Impact Props, like he made that suit just using foam boards and hand sculpting foam.
Yeah.
And the detail that he's got on that is insane.
It's all full hard surfacing. And when you do hard surfacing, when you do the exact opposite, CAD can do things that sculpting can do, and sculpting can do things that CAD can do. You can do very clean things.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do so clean. If you look closely to this one, there are parts that it's not so clean. Well, that's normal.
Yeah. I think that will be a good point to just leave this. Yeah, we've been going for so long.
Wrap her up.
I think that was good fun. I think Johnny's going to
good chat.
Start a whole new career in digital sculpting now. I'm excited to see your new venture, Johnny.
I'll put it on the list. I'll put it on the list, mate. We'll get there in 3 to 6 months.
We're drunk design.
Come on, it will be fun. Just just use it on your SolidWorks sculpts.
I said it's on the list.
No, but just use it on your SolidWorks sculpts. On your SolidWorks pieces. Model. Just try to do something.
Yeah.
Take one of your pipes and just give it like leather detail.
Yeah, that'll really go down well. BP oil and gas leather effect 24-inch pipeline.
Or do it, do it Victorian, do something. Some cool stuff.
They'll just be like, "What were you smoking when you did this?"
Some like detailed filigree, but it looks nice. It's like it's going in the ground.
Nice floral pattern down there.
And we didn't spoke at all about Metallica. Damn.
No, but I think you've got your next model lined up now.
Yeah, Metallica is it's my all-time favorite band. It's just Metallica.
Yeah, well, there's some Nashville memories of Metallica, isn't there, Kirby? There's a good video I've seen of us.
There's a video of us singing to Into Sandman for the band. It was a band that we're listening to at this bar, and they're like, "Oh, do you do requests?" I'm like, "Yeah, we do." I was like, "Could you play Metallica Into Sandman?" It's like, "Yeah, just go to the back and give them $10 and we'll play your song." I was like, "What?"
Really?
Yeah. No, you weren't. You turned to me and went, "Can I borrow $10?" Which you still haven't given me. You did. You rinsed a lot of people that night. You didn't buy any drinks. It was free drinks.
Yeah. I took you to Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did. True. But it was my birthday.
Yeah.
I'm playing that card. I'm playing the card.
I once made a miniature that looks like, well, it's not, I don't say it's Hetfield, but.
Nice.
That's cool. It's like
it kind of looks. Yeah. But, it's pretty much inspired by James, if you see it. Well, it's little load era.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got that kind of stance.
Yeah.
That's cool. You should do like the whole Metallica band.
Well, except Lars. I don't want to make Lars, He will sue me.
Yeah, he sues everybody. Yeah.
Well, you made me without asking. That's what she's going to say.
He's the worst, but they make good music, so I'll give him a pass.
Well, I give him a pass even though he doesn't know how to drum good. Well,
damn. We're getting controversial here, Kirby. I think it's time to chop this off.
Well, I think that was a great stream. Thank you very much.
No. He is perfect for what he does. But now that he's a little older, he's feeling too much, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, the arthritis is kicking in. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, he's going insane lately.
Yeah, so is Heffel. He's back in rehab. I think.
Is James out, by the way?
I don't know if he's out yet. I don't know. I haven't been posting much because of the whole COVID thing, but yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, I'll come back to London and I'll get to see them for the third time. We good. I'll
that another
throw
flex
stupid
there,
amounts of
Kirby?
money to meet them. Sorry?
Is that another little flex there?
What? Oh, for a third time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. But
Who do you think you are, Davy Jones?
but I think that's a perfect place to leave it.
Perfect play.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming to our. I thought I changed that.
It's okay.
I just realized I said follow Rob at FotisMint.
I'm Rob.
Or
now on,
Jonny
apparently.
Harrison as well.
No, hey, leave that as my alternate. That's my backup plan.
Honestly, guys, thank you for inviting me here. It's pretty
You're
much
more than welcome.
It's
Thank
very
you.
That
fun.
was great. I hope some people got some inspiration from it, like Jonny, and I hope some people are going to take up a career in digital sculpting, like Jonny.
All right,
from
let's drop the whole like Jonny thing. I've got stuff to do, man. I've got like a good 4 months of work ahead.
you
just
got some
started an
sculpting to
R2
do. You can put the R2D2 aside. And
No.
you should make one in ZBrush. Should we?
Let's start with an orange or something nice and easy.
Yeah,
like something
round, like a ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has a default sphere, so you can start from there.
Jobs are good.
But thank you very much for coming through. Thank you for joining us. Hope you got something out of it. This is a perfect time to just, if you want people to follow you, where do they find you? Is that your link to everything? FotisMint at FotisMint.
Well, yeah, this is my Twitter, and I have. They can find my links there. I have it on my description.
And you've got a Patreon as well, where if you want to support him and all the things that he does, and get some exclusive models on there. And you sell models on My Manufacturer as well, so it's places to get your models in there. Jonny, you know, try print something of his on your resin printer that you can't get working.
All right, give it a rest, mate. I've got stuff to do this week.
Challenging.
I've had to pause them printers so you guys could hear me. So let's just.
that sounds like poor planning on your part.
There was some rush printing to do this weekend. I might have forgotten about some Etsy orders and had people maybe messaging me this week.
You got to keep up with your customers, Jonny. But
mate, coronavirus. It's just the damnedest thing.
You can't use that excuse for everything.
I use it at work.
I know the coronavirus. Come on,
mate. If I can't get parts, I can't get parts. You know, everyone's printing face masks. PLA is just hard to get hold of.
That's why you should get a company to sponsor you.
That's why I've got 12 kilos sat in the cupboard, mate.
But go check out FotisMint stuff. Give him a follow. See some of the cool things that he makes, and if you want to support his Patreon, jump onto there and give him some of your hard-earned money so that he can make some cool things for you.
Make it rain. Yeah, boy.
And I look forward to seeing some of your newest stuff, what you got coming up next. If you want to follow the Core Podcast, Jonny and I, our name is terrible. Like if you want to find us on Instagram, it's at the Core Podcast.contact. If you want us on Facebook, it's at the Core Podcast. The O is a 0. If you want to find us on Twitter, it's the _Core Podcast. I forgot to do the exercise. The Core Podcast.
You forgot to do your exercise.
Yeah, again. So it's kind of tricky to find us, but one day we'll be popular enough that you can just search the Core Podcast and we'll be right there on the top.
Yeah,
we decided on the name. We decided on the name and then realized there's already 3 of them, so we just
Leon loves your work.
Smack them aside.
Thank you.
Yes. If you love us so much, give him a follow, send him some money,
and us too.
and print some stuff. If you know companies that are willing to sponsor, please send them our way because we want to be sponsored.
Yeah, especially if they sponsor PCs, graphic cards, stuff like that.
Yeah, please. We're hungry.
I don't know what that image was.
Basically, I learned I could add videos to this thing, and I've had so much fun. And then I try to animate things and it didn't work too well. But thank you very much for coming through. Thank you for watching this episode of the Core Podcast. This will be out in a day on Spotify. There will be a link down below for everybody's socials as well. And there'll be a link to possible, our email if you want to sponsor us. Thank you very much for coming through, and we'll see you in the next one.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
What's the button? Where is it? Oh, there it is. End the
Oh, come on, Kirby. I did my ending. You just messed it up.